gas mower. Once you've purchased one of the many eligible electric mowers, send in your receipt, application, and verification that you retired your old gas burner, sit back, and wait for your money. That's valleyair.org. Clean green yard machines. This has been your Healthy Air Living Report from the Valley Air District. Please turn off your engine. From the San Joaquin Valley Air District, this is your Healthy Air Living Report. Motor vehicles are responsible for a majority of valley air pollution, and vehicle idling produces a large amount of unnecessary emissions. Consider shutting off your engine, parking, and entering that restaurant or coffee house instead of going through the drive-thru. And when you're waiting to pick up your kids from school, remember the phrase, turn the key and be idle-free. Making these types of changes will help reduce wear and tear on your engine, save you gas, and save you money. Reaching our air quality goals and protecting public health should be a priority, one that can be achieved when we all work together. This has been your Healthy Air Living Report from the San Joaquin Valley Air District.
KXVS 92.1 coming soon. KXVS.
This program does not reflect the views of KXVS management or KXVS, the voice of Stockton.
Hello, welcome to the voice of Stockton, KXVS, the voice of Stockton. Today for the Doug Vigil edition. Well, go ahead. Proceed, Connie.
Oh, you're not going to introduce us?
I just mentioned your name, Connie. Oh, there.
Well, this is Tom.
Pat Withrow.
Pat Withrow, and he is retired from the Sheriff's Department.
Just retired from the Sheriff's Office a couple years ago.
That's the San Joaquin County Sheriff's Department in California. And then
I'm Steve Walker. I'm also retired from San Joaquin County Sheriff's Office. I retired as a sergeant, and I'm a member of the Deputy Sheriff's Association. I'm currently president of Porac's Valley chapter, and Porac is Peace Officers Research Association of California, which is the largest police officer agency in California.
That's like a union, right?
Yes.
Yes, very good, very good. First of all, before we start talking with our gentleman, I would like to tell everybody about the Lions. Stockton San Joaquin Lions has been sponsoring a peace poster contest, and this is for 11 to 13-year-olds here in San Joaquin County. Actually, it's an international Lions contest, and these youngsters are doing posters to represent this year's theme, the future of peace.
Yeah, good.
And our club, or my club, which I'm the president of, is the Stockton San Joaquin Lions Club. We had over 78 entries from 2 schools, and then from one school we had 2 essays entered by students who were visually impaired. And that was just absolutely wonderful with the participation. And the art Expressions of San Joaquin County is a nonprofit art gallery here in Stockton on the Miracle Mile on Pacific Avenue. They are so gracious to let us exhibit all the students' posters.
Wow, nice.
And this will be on November 4th, Saturday, November 4th, from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock. So if you're in the Stockton, California area, please come and support these youngsters. These posters were done by 11 to 12-year-olds, and they are not trained artists, but they put their heart into what they thought peace for the future would be. So that is my announcement for today.
That is wonderful, Connie. I really think that all artists, all students should be able to have creative idea what's going to be what's the world going to be like for them in the future, and I definitely think that it'll bring them hope when they grow up, and just think when they're young and doing their art, I think that'd be more creativity for them on the school eventually.
Well, you know, I want to just say something that is a little disturbing to me. What's going on in the world today, and some of the things that are taught in school and are not taught any longer in school. When I talked to the students, I was talking to 3 classes of children from the ages of 11 to 13, and I said, what do you think peace means? Do you know? None of them really knew. And I had a poster from 2 years ago, a peace poster, and so I showed them this poster and I asked them to tell me what they saw and what did it mean to you. And by the end of our hour session, those children began to know what peace meant. But they didn't know. And I think this is a terrible thing that's happening. We have so many, you know, TV games and these computer games and so much negativeness all the time.
Right.
And, gang problems in our communities, and so many things like no longer teaching students how to write in cursive in the schools. We've got to do something different. A child should not be 11 to 13 years old and not understand what peace means. But these youngsters now that have participated in this poster contest, I truly believe they have the concept, because I saw a lot of heart in those posters.
Nice.
That's.
Well, you're
I just wanted to share that.
You're absolutely right, and you know that's really how we are going to, I think, make things better, is getting to the youth and this generation. This is how we change things, and Pat has some really good ideas about that, getting back into our schools and after-school programs and working with the community.
Absolutely, yeah. We're not going to be able to change the problems that are going on in our world if we allow our children to be raised up with the idea that it's okay to be violent and aggressive towards other people just because they're different than you, or because they think differently than you. Or we really need to start early on in schools to make sure we continue to have involvement with the families and have law enforcement in the school to, first of all, let them know, hey, they're not the bad guys, and they're not just around when people are in trouble. We're there to help. I mean, that's our primary cause as law enforcement, is to go out there and help people, is really what it is. And so sometimes that involves, you know, having to arrest people and things like that who violate the law. But most of our careers, most of the things we did, we were out there helping people, keeping them safe, and so we need to teach the children that, first of all, it's all right to approach officers, and they're there to help, and then we really need to be out there to stress, hey, look, violence is not okay in any way, whether it's at home between adults or kids at school. And if we start early on and break that cycle, then we won't have the problems we have at the other end, where we're having to incarcerate people and for a long time.
That's right.
I think also that's really, you know, when you're teaching kids young the value of heroism. You know, there's not enough heroes. You see Superman, Wonder Woman, all that stuff. But yeah, there are other heroes that are out there. They don't see that. The police, the sheriff, the firemen, the ambulance, all those people are saving lives. They don't see that, the realness. And you have to come with costume and cape or whatever. That don't mean mean anything. But as far as, you know, police have really been having a bad rap. And you know, whether it's to be a sheriff or police or the state trooper, whatever they're going, that it's not that you're being profiled. It's like, you know, sometimes you go out into the store and you get a donut or get something to eat or whatever. They just kind of, why they're here? You know, you feel uncomfortable environment, and that shouldn't be doing that. I mean, you got to have some kind of form of trust for our police officer, because I understand that it's a civilian war in here, but it's like a military war outside in another country. It's almost the same thing. You know what I mean? So you're there to protect us and make us be peaceful in our community, and there's always going to be good and bad people manipulating oh, you did it, you did that, pointing the finger at each other.
So we have to take some responsibility for that in law enforcement. We have to do a much better job of interacting with our community. As we said, first is when they're children and when they're adults. And we have to teach the public why we do the things we do. You know, we cannot expect the public to behave the way that we need them to behave when we have our interactions if we haven't told them ahead of time how to behave. And a perfect example of that, and it's so critical now, you see a lot of it on YouTube and things like that, these videos, is on car stops. You know, we teach our children through classes to how to drive a car, and stay safe, and the rules of the road, but nobody teaches them in that procedure what to do when you get pulled over. So we see all these horrible videos where car stops go wrong, but we've never taken the time to teach people what we do on car stops, what they should do on car stops, because as officers, all we see from the back, usually now cars have tinted windows, so we really can't see in, much, especially at night. So all we see is movement. And movement to us, unfortunately nowadays, can mean violence towards us. So we need to teach our citizens and our children that, hey, look, on a car stop, everybody gets nervous. I get nervous when I get pulled over. Unfortunately, I get pulled over sometimes because I drive a little fast, still think I'm in the police car. But I get nervous too when the lights come on. It's just human nature. And but what we need to do is make sure we teach our loved ones, hey, look, when you get pulled over, make sure that if you have tinted windows, let's roll those down. So as an officer approaches, he can see what's in the back seat and see what's in the front, and he doesn't see any threat there. If it's at night, maybe turn on your inside light so it lights it up for him. You can see what's in there. You're telling him there's no threat here. When he approaches, just leave your hands on the steering wheel. Because most people have a reaction, oh, I have to get my registration, or oh, I have to get my wallet out. Well, this movement here to us could be anything, reaching for a weapon or something like that. So just leave your hands on the steering wheel, and then the officer will say, hey, hi, I'm Officer so-and-so. The reason I pulled you over was this.
How do you, Pat, how do you visualize training, like high school students, seniors, or even younger than that? Sometimes they're taking cars. But to learn how to conduct themselves, and to have trust.
Well, I've reached out to several of our legislators, and hopefully they'll carry it forward. And in several states already, they've passed new laws, or there's pending laws, to make that part of driver's training. To tell them exactly what to do. It should be a mandatory part of it. You would have officers come out if need be to help teach that side of the course. And so they would know automatically, but we need to do a better job of, like I said, getting in the schools. We should be in the high schools constantly. Here in San Joaquin County, for the county itself, we have 4 school resource officers for all the schools that we have in the county. And one of those is in Linden. So we really need to invest in our children. We need to invest in getting our officers in the school. And then we need to attend, neighborhood watch meetings and lower level schools, middle schools and grade schools and things like that.
Yes, start them when they're young.
Yes, any event we can go to and explain not only the procedures you should do on car stops, but if you're interacting in public with an officer. And, I always did it. I was in a lot of things in the 28 years that I was in law enforcement, and several violent shootings and car chases and things like that. And always at the end of it, I would go back to the person that I had to arrest and say, okay, what just happened. You're the bad guy. You did what you thought you should do, and I'm the officer. I did what I thought I should do. But right now, we're just 2 humans sitting here. How do we keep you from ever having to go through this again? How do we break this cycle of you either alcohol or drugs or whatever it is, and being in a gang? How do we break this cycle? What can we do to start you on the path to change that behavior?
Well, so many schools now are not providing education where young people can learn about their desires. They've taken away a lot of music, they've taken a lot of sports away, they've taken a lot of art away. Like when I was at Lincoln High School, long time ago here in Stockton, We had Safety Council. I was president of the Safety Council for 3 years. And during that 3 years, I did a lot of campaigns. We had an accident on the Levee Road near where Stagg High School is here in Stockton, California. And these kids were joyriding in a Cadillac convertible, which ended up being wrapped around a tree or a telephone pole, killing all the children in the car. And with the help of the Highway Patrol and the city of Stockton, I brought that car to my school, to Lincoln High School. It stayed there for a whole week and a half, and the Highway Patrol gave me a lot of accident pictures that were all over the walls in the auditorium.
Right.
And it just so happened that we did have driver's education, which took up an hour or so every so many semesters. We would have the driver's education, and the students would be brought out of PE class to take driver's ed. We had classroom training, and then we got on the road. But our instructor was a retired captain from the Highway Patrol. And he was also my sponsor for the Safety Council.
Oh, wonderful.
But I worked as being with the Safety Council. I brought a lot of safety knowledge to the high school at that time. And when those students got to really see that car, you can tell nobody's going to survive. And I don't know if they're doing anything like that in the high schools today.
They have a program now called Every 15 Minutes. That's an amazing program, and they try and do it at as many schools as possible each year. And it's a great program. It's actually a multi-day event, and I know as a parent, my children went through it in Escalon, and the parents had to come the night before and attend different classes and things that were very impactful on the family. And again, it recreates a car accident. It recreates kids passing away, and you see the reaction of the kids in the audience watching this as their friends are dying right there in front of them, and they literally bring in the helicopter and land and load people up and take them away to show them.
So they're simulating
they're simulating all of this, and it's and all the way through the funeral that they have in the gym afterwards. And it's and a handcuff the driver, the good kid who just made a mistake, who drank and drove and killed one of his friends. It's very impactful. It's a great program, but you're right, we need to do more of that. And when we're speaking to our kids, we need to make sure, hey, look, we're all going to make mistakes. We all did when we were young, we're in school. And if you make the mistake of drinking and driving, it's not going to be the end of the world. You need to, if the officer starts to pull you over, don't panic. I'm still going to love you as your parent if something like that happens. I don't want you to do it. I'm going to try everything I can. I want you to call if you're in that situation. Don't get behind a wheel. But if you make the mistake, don't panic and try and take off from the cops. Don't compound the problem. We have to teach our children it's okay to make the mistake. You're going to recover from it just as long as you don't compound it. And we're going to get through it, So again, they've got to build up that trust. If they get pulled over and they're doing something wrong, yes, there may be consequences, but it's not the end of the world.
Right. I think that's something that I need to reassure them, because I know that, like you said, education is a very important thing for young teenager and kids all alike, because they hear from the wrong information, the wrong source, and all that. And DUI, if you have first offense, second offense, it's worse and worse. And that's something that drinking has been like a norm, and there's really not much of control of it. People, there's a liquor like in there, and there's like every liquor in every county, every liquor in every pocket and everywhere. And for me, at people that I know that are alcoholic, they're drinking on the bottle, like a kid, open bottles, liquor, and anything like that, and that needs to be educated for the education of driver, as well as in the DMV also, the state level. When you take it down, what are you going to do when, and just write it down, question, what, if you get pulled, what are you going to do? When the cop comes, you give your license. That's something, the question that they have to take in their test to know those things.
Absolutely.
That's simple common sense to me. So, but as far as that concerned, I do appreciate that, you know, throughout different generation, things change, and I think that something like yourself is giving the practical idea that will help our youth, that won't be impacted by the negativity some other youth in the future. So you have to start young somewhere.
I'd like to ask Steve a question.
Okay,
sure.
You are representing what area through your association, your law enforcement association?
I would say probably law enforcement in this county in general.
San Joaquin County here in California.
I was a cop here for many years. I'm still on the board for the Deputy Sheriff's Association, and as I said, I represent PORAC, which really isn't a union, but it's made up of associations. It's more of a lobbying group for peace officers, and they do a lot of good things. But I think
that covers 14 counties, doesn't it?
The part I'm involved in covers 14 counties, including San Joaquin County. But I think what's really I'd like to say is that the law enforcement in this county is supporting Pat Withrow for the next sheriff. Even the deputy sheriffs have come out and says, hey, you know what, it's time for a change. The current sheriff's been there for going on 12 years. Things really haven't changed. Crime rate hasn't changed. There's the most escapes ever from the jail. And so they say, hey, listen, you know, they work for this guy, but they say, we know Pat Withrow, we know he's a good guy, he's got really great ideas, and it's time for a change, and they come out to support him.
Well, I want to, not to get away from the youth, but I do want to ask a question, because there's been a lot of talk here in San Joaquin County the last couple of weeks about the immense amount of escapes from the Honor Farm.
Right.
How is that happening? Do you have any idea how that's happening?
I think it's happening because it's an antiquated facility. It was built many, many years ago.
Yes, it was.
It was built to house drunk drivers. Society has changed, but really the administration hasn't changed the Honor Farm with society, with the way things have changed. They need to invest into the Honor Farm, invest into our community to stop those escapes from happening, and it's been going on for at least as long as the sheriff's been there, for at least 12 years.
A perfect example of that is that the Honor Farm right now it has no cameras on the fences. This is a correctional facility that holds now state inmates. Because of AB 109, we're having much more violent inmates that are staying there.
Now that's in California here.
That's correct, yes. And so guys that would have been in state prison are now at our county jails, and there are no cameras on the fences. Before I ran last time, this sheriff continued to leave the front gate open of the Honor Farm. So guys were walking out just getting into vehicles.
And there was no guards there?
There are correctional staff, but they're busy all day long. They're watching as many as you can, but you know, it's a big facility.
Right, it is.
So and you know, there's areas, there's food serving going on there, and there's all kinds of stuff going on at the Honor Farm. So in between visiting and all that type of stuff, they could just walk out the front gate. So luckily, through our last campaign, we got this sheriff to close the gate. It's shocking to the conscience that we would have to tell somebody to do that, but he finally did it. But the other thing is, it's so antiquated, they don't even have motion lights around the fence. So if somebody was to walk up to the fence at night, they have the old 1940 lights that were up there, but you would think if I walk up to Steve Walker's front porch, a light comes on and a camera tells his phone that there's somebody at his front door. He's looking at him. He can even talk to him through the phone. At our Honor Farm, where we're holding some of the most violent criminals in San Joaquin County, we don't have any modern technology like that to hold these people in place. We don't need a whole new Honor Farm. We just need to use the technology.
But the thing is, what I heard so far last couple of weeks, and you probably already know, but we're not covering it also, that even the homeless task force want to use that as a homeless shelter in the Honor Farm. And to me, why putting the criminal with the homeless, with the mental, the psychiatric, all that stuff in that's going to be a lot more work, whoever get involved in this Honor Farm. Because for me, when I went over there, I had to notarize a document with an attorney, and then there's a big little post on the side, and you kind of wide open. But there's really nobody there. I
You're
mean, to
absolutely
watch
right.
the gate.
Common sense would say, yes, we want to help the homeless, and we need to do whatever we can to help that.
Yeah.
But putting them at the honor farm, right across the compound, I mean, literally, they are 30, 40 feet apart from what we call DE&F barracks. Putting them there is just asking for trouble. Okay,
Right.
we have so many other places in our county, you know, out at the port, we have so many vacant buildings and things like that that we could have used for this. Yes, we want to do everything we can to help the homeless population. But to think that you can introduce homeless people into that facility and not have repercussions from them with, we already have a problem with a lot of drugs and contraband getting into the jail.
Right.
You can only imagine what's going to happen when they can do this and just throw something over the fence to the guys in the next barracks.
Right.
Now, Doug, have you ever been in law enforcement or corrections?
No, I just
Have you?
Yes.
What would you do? What'd you do?
I worked about 10 years as a correctional officer with
Okay.
the Youth Authority Prison,
So,
and
see,
male prisoners.
And you recognize that
Yes.
we should shut the gate for people that we incarcerate. And
Exactly.
you recognize that housing homeless people with inmates is a bad idea. So
Right.
it seems like other people should realize that too.
Yeah,
Right.
can you imagine in the facility that you work ever introduce, you know, homeless population into that? And although you're going to try and keep them separate,
It's
you
not
know
gonna
how
work.
it works in
No.
jails.
Yes, yes.
they're gonna help each other. One
Yeah.
want to help it for the drug addict, and the one that are homeless or the medical. They're gonna be on one of them, and you're gonna be arresting everyone in one particular. And I don't think that to me that's not gonna solve any problem.
And again, I applaud this association for wanting to do this. We need so much the citizens like this to get involved and want to help people. We just need to do it in the right way and not. I think this is more of a political thing for a little publicity because we've gone 12 years and haven't done anything on the law enforcement side to help the homeless. And now, oh geez, you can house them here at the Honor Farm. Well. We should leave that for bad guys who are victimizing our citizens
Okay.
and get them into custody, stop them from doing that. And then why don't we use that time to try and help those people once they're in custody? If we've got
Exactly.
people in custody, why don't we, this sheriff has eliminated all the training programs that we used to have out there, like the auto body shop and upholstery. We used to, guys would get in custody and then they could go in there and try and change their life and
Right.
Exactly.
learn
Yeah.
a new trade. So when they come out, they don't have to break into our car again. So why don't we concentrate on that? Why don't we bring programs back to that to teach people how to frame or electrical or drive a forklift or whatever it is to give them a trade so when they come back, they don't have to go back to a life of crime.
So, excuse me, before I forget, what you think about, again, education, that when you kick an inmate education, but their file still follow them, how can you, if you're going to have somebody to go back into the society and retrain them and get back into their life together, their record is going to be following at the when you write the check, have you been arrested? So
Right.
I think if there's going to be a program where they, okay, the 3-year mechanic, because right now new cars are coming out, electrical and everything. So once they would keep their certificate or degree, are they gonna seal their record for a second chance?
Yeah, well, that would be up to our legislators if
Got
they
it,
wanted
okay.
to go that way. But at least we want to give them the opportunity. There's a lot of jobs that you won't be impacted by a criminal record. You know, there's a lot of jobs that you can make a lot of good money in the trades. And
Right.
we have so many trades around here in our county that are willing to help and train people. And if we get them started while they're in custody, or if we identify them, the other thing I want to do is identify them as they come into booking. So as people start to get booked in our facility, we need to ask more questions about what's going on in their life. If we can identify that they're a veteran as they come into our booking, if there's an alcohol or a drug charge there, then we should immediately, with computers nowadays, be reaching out to the VA and identifying, hey, we have a soldier that has served his country and we are so honored that he did that. why aren't we helping him? So let's reach out to the VA, contact them so we can have, I would like to have a liaison between the VA and the Sheriff's Office. So anybody that comes into our booking who has served our country has the opportunity to get well, because a lot of the times the problems they have come from protecting our families overseas or protecting our families in these wars. So with computer nowadays, it should just be a push of a button to let the VA know he's there and find out if he has services
you can get a very good database put together. I have a degree in communication technology, and it's not unheard of to be able to start a database where you can follow somebody, or you can find out what, interviewing them, matching them up. When I worked for the Youth Authority, here in Stockton, California, there was a group of us that were correctional officers, coaches in the high school, and each one of us had a special skill. Well, my skill was an employment specialist, and I took 20 young men that were getting ready for parole, and I taught them how to look for a job, how to overcome the barriers of having a criminal record, how to dress, how to do an interview. When they left, they had a resume. I said, you know what? You may be getting a high school diploma, but that high school diploma is from a school outside the Youth Authority. So, and I said, now what have you been doing in your life? And some worked on cars, some did graffiti, painting and different things. I said, you know what, these are job skills. So to make a long story short, what was happening is in the short time that I worked with these young men, I taught them life skills, how to survive outside, because so many of our incarcerated, when they're released, if they don't know how to survive on their own, they go right back in the same community, right back in the same barrio, same family, same gang, because they don't know anything else.
They have no other option. And and if we expect them not to go back and do the same thing over again, and we haven't tried to change or offered a change of that behavior, then who's to blame really? Is it them or is it us? So if we really want to solve our economic woes and our budget problems, then we need to stop that behavior long term. And we do that, and just like you said, what you used to do, we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. All the pieces are there. There's so many nonprofits and church organizations that want to help. But we need law enforcement and first responders who are what I call the tip of the spear. We're the ones that are there at the door whenever something's going wrong at the house or wrong at the school or out on the street. And we need to be able to share that information. Let me give you an example. Let's say we respond to a domestic violence call. And we go there and there's a beef between mom and dad or their partners, and they're having a problem, and the officer happens to find out through interviewing both sides, one of the partners lost their job. So now that's putting stress on the family. The job was eliminated for whatever reason. So now we know now that we need somebody who needs a job, or maybe needs retraining, something like that. So we in law enforcement, we know of all these resources. We should be able to fill out a form along with our report that the next day goes to somebody in the community that says, hey, we're going to reach out. We're going to come back and knock on that door and say, hey, we found out that a deputy told us that you didn't have any food in the cupboards, or your electricity's been turned off. What can we do to help? There's so many, as I said, church and faith-based organizations and nonprofits that will do that. They'll help them get the water back on. They'll help them get some retraining, or help them with job resources. So we need to connect the dots. We can't just go on autopilot and do what we've always done. But again, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's all there. We just got to put it all together, and we need administration that understands that, who's worked the streets, who has been out there and handled calls for service, and understands, hey, this isn't a hard fix. We just need to want to do it.
Right. And Steve, with your association, do you, you've got law enforcement all over many counties too. Okay. Are you doing any kind of political lobbying to get more money into the system?
Absolutely.
So that we can do the programs like Pat's talking
Yeah,
about?
not only do we do it, but there's other associations that do it too. But yeah, we always try to get more money for training. There's an agency called POST, which stands for Peace Officer Standard and Training.
Okay.
And they make the rules for training. They tell us what the minimum training that peace officers have to become a peace officer. I think the academy is up to 6 months now, which is, almost, which isn't really enough time to learn everything, but it's a really good start.
That's for new recruits.
New recruits, you have to go to a
okay.
police academy. You have to pass all the requirements. You get a certificate from POST, Peace Officer Standard Training, and that academy that you met those minimum requirements. Then to continue your training, you have to get hired on with a police agency. Some people put themselves through the academy, which you can do. Some agencies will hire you and pay you to go to the academy, to help with recruitment. Then there's continuous education that you have to have every 2 years. There's mandated training. You have to have continuous education.
Is that while you have become a police officer?
The rest of your career, you have to continuously get training. And if you don't get that training, it can cost you your job if you don't complete that training.
Now, does the association, do you advocate or lobby so that there can be more money coming into the law enforcement system?
We do that at the state level.
To do things like what Pat's talking about,
Right.
to create programs to help in the community and the at-risk youth and
There's many, there's also grants involved for that too, but yeah, the PORAC and POST both advocate the state for legislation to get more money. But we can't control what the county does.
Right.
The county has its own budget. They allocate the sheriff so much money for his budget that he presents a budget to them, says I need this much money for this, 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 and this. And there's actually budget hearings for that.
So what we have to do is have a sheriff that thinks it's a priority to invest in educating or training these inmates and giving them a way out of this cycle of drugs, alcohol, and violence or gangs. We need a sheriff that's going to take that money that Steve's organizations lobby for and make sure that law enforcement all through the state get, that is going to take that money and invest it properly so that our officers are in the school and keeping it before the kids go down that path of gangs and drugs and things like that. So we do get a tremendous amount of money under grants and things like that, but once it reaches the sheriff's office, it's up to the leadership there to spend it properly, to make it a priority to try and combat and break this cycle of violence and gangs.
Now, why did
Connie? Can I?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, all right, we got me. There are 2 questions I'm going to add, and it's really because I have 1 question for you and 1 question for you too. So far, when you're talking about allocating money, what has been you've been researching to be the problem that you seen that is needed for Pat to do his job? What have you seen that as a union rep and that our people are contemplating of what needs to be done?
In general, or are you talking about financially?
I'm talking about both.
Okay, in general, I think that the men and women of law enforcement need to know that they have an administration that supports them.
Okay.
I don't think that's why I think they're supporting Pat, because I don't think they feel like they have the support of their administration. And if you're not happy at work, you all know that your productivity goes down. Sometimes bad things happen, and our community can't afford that. I mean, I'm born and raised in Stockton, San Joaquin County my entire life, and I believe in this community. Programs like this are great. Some of the things you did at the city level were great, and what you do is fantastic. We're going to the Patriots Ball later this week to help support disabled veterans. I'm a veteran myself. Financially, I think exactly what Pat said. The sheriff has to realize where these allocations need to be. It may not. This sheriff is extremely top-heavy in his administration. He's getting a 3rd assistant sheriff, so he has an undersheriff, 3 assistant sheriffs, captains, lieutenants, but our staffing levels on the street are the same levels they were in the 1970s.
Okay.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. So priority is critically important, and that's why it's time for a change, and people need to get out and vote.
Okay, now Pat, what are you going to do regarding? I know that every time I go to the San Joaquin County Supervisor, they're always bringing the sheriff and discuss whatever agenda they want to talk about. So what purport a relationship? Are they? Because sometimes, like you said, he said budgeting, asking questions. It's going to be the same thing. Are they going to be the same plan, or what is the role between the sheriff department and as well as the supervisor county as far as that's concerned?
Good question.
It's a good question. Yeah, the big thing is that the board of supervisors allocate the money that comes to the sheriff's office. Okay, so they trust right now that when the sheriff comes to them and presents a budget and says, this is what I need the money for and this is what I'm going to use it for, that he's going to do that. Okay. And this sheriff in the last election took a lot of pride in saying that he returned back $8 or $9 million to the county. And my question to that is, why wasn't that money spent on the men and women protecting the citizens of this county? Okay, if it were at the staffing levels, as Steve said, in the 1970 for regular patrol officers, and you're allocated for like 124 officers on the street, and you only have 63 of them assigned to regular patrol, why are you giving that money back? The Board of Supervisors entrusted you with that money to hire staff, to staff our streets, to be proactive and aggressive against people that come in our community that want to hurt our citizens. And you chose not to fill those positions, or when were unable to fill those positions, and just wanted to give that money back and then bragged about it. No, that money needs to be invested properly. The Board of Supervisors takes the time to allocate that, because there's only a certain pot of money for this county. And we have a lot of county agencies that want and need this money to help people and protect people. So if they're going to take the time to allocate it for you, then you darn better well do your part and go out there and make sure that we spend every last penny to make sure that you get to go home to your family and loved ones, that you get to go out and shop and not come back and have your car broken into, that you get to get up in the morning and your car hasn't been stolen. So we need to make sure that the Board of Supervisors are following up and saying, hey, you asked for X amount of dollars for this, and now you didn't use it. What's going on? You know, and that's the same question that the officers, the men and women that work for San Joaquin County Sheriff's Office, are saying, hey, look, we're in trouble out here. You know, we're in trouble. We need help. They are mandatory overtime every single day.
Wow. Okay.
And in a stressful job like this, you have no idea what that toll is on a human body and on a family. So that affects their performance and their safety and the safety of our citizens. You know, Stockton PD just came out and endorsed me for sheriff. So other departments are saying to me, hey, where has the sheriff's office gone? They're no longer in this fight with us. And I said, well, basically you guys are in a battle to protect Stockton, and the sheriff's office under this administration has become Switzerland. They're sitting it out, you know. They're more they're more concerned with little specialty programs that'll get notoriety than doing the meat and potatoes of going out, patrolling, being aggressively active, and making sure bad guys don't want to come to San Joaquin County.
So in other words, there's no accountability on the part of the supervisor to have not watched the previous administration, the last, what, 13 years, you say?
It's coming up on 12.
12? And that's what they're being advocating about?
Yeah, he's been there for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's time for a change.
This is a career politician, and you know, for whatever reason, he's not being held accountable as to, I mean, I'll ask you, do you think it's safer now than it was 12 years ago?
No.
Do you feel like our community has improved over 12 years ago? If you were a business, would you want to move your business here, raise your children here?
I've seen the changes.
Yes, I agree too.
I've been here since 1945, and I remember when we didn't have to lock our doors, and as kids we'd go, get up in the morning, have breakfast, and out we'd go. Just playing everywhere all over the neighborhoods.
Right.
And parents wouldn't worry about us, and we'd come home and have lunch, and off we'd go again.
As you both said today, you know, this isn't rocket science. This isn't, you understand the problem, you understand the solution. The question is, why has this man for 12 years not implemented those solutions?
I was very surprised when you told me that there was no chaplaincy program with the county, with the sheriffs. I've become very good friends with the senior chaplain, Jesse, at the Stockton PD. And they are doing a lot of great work out in the schools. They have chaplains, and Chaplain Jesse, he's the only one on the actual payroll, and all the other chaplains are volunteers. But they're all assigned to different high schools, and they go out and talk with the students, and they're in uniform, and their idea is to for the students to not be afraid of a uniform.
Right.
And they have a program where they have a camp, and they have students, boys that have mentors, and they work with the community, and they work with kids. And I know we got a lot of gangs here, county and city, but I do believe that one of the things that is missing is the chaplaincy, for not only just for the sheriffs, but for the community in the county.
I absolutely agree. You know, we've tried before to get the chaplains in there, and this sheriff would not allow it. I have no idea why. You know, we as deputy sheriffs are also coroners, so we have the responsibility, the horrible responsibility of attending every unattended or violent death in this community. And we are the ones that knock on your door in the middle of the night when something has happened to a loved one, and that is a tremendous stress and burden on our officers.
Right.
And it's so difficult to go through that, and so we absolutely
So you
need
have to do that yourself.
Absolutely, we have to knock on that door.
I think that the sheriff department, I think it's time Joaquin, why they have to go to different cities. Not just Stockton itself. Stockton already have a great program for the chaplain, and I do believe that giving Pat Willow the idea, hopefully that will increase crime down to ease the burden, the stress of all the community. To be, you have to have Tracy, you have to have Withrow, you have Mantapa Mintica, Loda. Those are huge areas that you need to cover in order to have a chaplain in each city to show that, hey, we're going to their school, and then you have to provide those things. And it has to be at least one staff, and a majority, I think it'd be a great change.
The chaplain is also there as a support for the officers.
Right.
Not only the victims and victims' family and the community, but the officers.
Right. I agree. Yeah, I got that.
You know, this is a very stressful job, and people, it's not like on a movie or on TV or anything like that. When we have to get involved in situations, a lot of people think that that's cool and fun for officers and stuff. It's not. That's a stressful thing, and any time that we have to be involved in something like that, that takes a toll on an officer. And we're fortunate. Steve with the DSA helped in years past when we lost an officer on a SWAT entry to at least get some psychological counseling for after that. But wouldn't it be nice if we had a chaplain right there on scene that when you came in the evening would check on you and say, hey, how'd the night go? Well, you know, I had a bad car accident that I had to respond to. Well, let's talk about that. You know, before he has to take that home and put that in. And I was a member of our peer counseling group that after critical incidents, we'd reach out to the officers, and we took the stigma away from it and say, hey, look, you're going to have adverse reaction to this sometimes, and these are the things you have to look for. And it's so nice when that's faith-based, and they know that it's okay to reach out to somebody, and there's a person there that they can talk to.
Right.
I totally agree, because when I talked to the chaplain himself, and I told him about the psychiatric evaluation, I mean, if you've been there for like 4 years, you'll see a lot of things going on, and then right there you need to take time off and reassess your mentality and, you know, your aggressiveness, things like that, because they feel like I have a brother in San Francisco, a cousin that is in San Francisco. He was a PD motorcycle officer, and most of the time when I talk to him, he's so quiet and he's so mellow, and he don't talk about his job. He keeps his job behind, but they're things, you know, and then when you get off the fort, then they start talking about what really happened, what's going on when you get off the fort. So I don't know if there's a sworn oath where you cannot confidentially say anything regarding what their day, how their job, or things like that. So I'm just
I know what you're saying, but there's not. It's just
not, okay.
you want to leave it at work. You don't want to bring it home. we all have wife and kids, and you don't really want to burden them with what you went through. So a lot of cops internalize it, or we talk to each other.
Right.
And
So
it would
that-
be great, like he said, to have a chaplain. Maybe we could have a
Right.
chat with before we went home. Hey, this is bugging me. I want to talk to you about something that happened to me.
Yeah, because even the years that I worked in the prison, and as soon as that gate locked behind me, you're living with a life and death fear.
Right.
You're trying to be a professional, but within you there is a different feeling.
Sure, you're extremely
and
outnumbered
that
too.
feeling doesn't go away forever. And
No.
a lot of people don't understand what that feeling is because they haven't been in that position.
Yeah.
I mean, I still go to a restaurant or any place else I go, my back's against the wall and I have to see the entrance,
Right.
every exit.
Okay, so we're about closing up. So before I'll give you the last word, you want to give Steve or you the last word of the show?
Well, first of all, we want to thank you both for what you guys do for Stockton. I mean, you take the time out of your day, and you are constantly advocating for our city of Stockton, our citizens of Stockton, and it's so huge of both of you to do that. We really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
But I would just like to say, hey, look, we really think it's time for a change. We know it's time for a change. Just look around, and if you're tired of the way things are, if you know that your officers need help, I'm the man to make sure that the sheriff's office gets back in this, and we're there to help people, keep our kids safe, keep our families safe, and we want to make sure that everybody knows that on June 5th, it's the primary, is when you make this change. That's when the sheriff race is voted on. So you have to either mail in your ballot or get there, and if you don't do anything, then you don't have the right to complain.
Exactly.
You know?
Right.
So
That
you've got to
is
get
very
involved.
true.
We really need you out there on June 5th. Vote for Pat Withrow for sheriff for a change, and know that no matter what, you'll get 110% of me fighting for you to help protect you, to make sure we turn this around here in San Joaquin County.
That sounds very good.
Very good.
Very good.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for watching The Voice of Stockton, KXVS. The Voice of Stockton. Have a great afternoon. Thanks for watching.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
This program does not reflect the views of KXVS management or KXVS, the voice of Stockton.